Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and we're here doing the hardware review for the new Sony PlayStation Vita. I'm also here joined with Marco.
The Vita-licious.
And we're doing a multi-review here because both of us own Vitas, and we've had some time to play with it, and plenty of games and applications, and I think we both have a really good idea of what this thing can do, and if it's worth your time and money. I think we should start out with the hardware itself. The system is a solid unit, feels weighty, feels good in your hands, does not feel cheap on any level.
Definitely not cheap. Good weight, it feels right. It doesn't feel cheap and plasticky. It's not as hefty as a PSP. It definitely feels a little bit lighter.
First gen, definitely first gen.
For a Model 1000 PSP, yeah. But it feels right. It has the right shape.
Yeah. Most important thing for anyone who plays any kind of games at all are these two things right here. These are analog sticks, and they are not nubs. I want to be very clear about this. These are not like the PSP nubs. These are proper analog sticks. I mean, they're not as large as a DualShock 3, for example.
You also don't have as much motion, but
yeah.
Surprisingly, they're really sensitive. They don't have much of a dead spot, in all honesty, which is good.
And they're very accurate. Having played Uncharted Golden Abyss and some of the racing games, such as Mod Nation Racers, they feel right. There's absolutely everything about it feels right. This is what the PSP should have been, but it was not.
Particularly on the point of the analog sticks, they work really well for shooters. I've been playing Uncharted all weekend long. Today's the day. Actually, it's a couple hours before the launch, the official February 22nd launch. I've been playing over the weekend. It works, you know. I had to tune down the sensitivity, turn it up a little bit actually, but you know, that's just one of those things on programming. It works really well. It's pretty precise, and you know, it's one of those things that I'm very happy to see.
This is what the iPad needs.
One little nitpick, and this is just on my part. We're gonna have a lot of little nitpicks, by the way, so just get used to it. I always have a feeling that if I wanted to put this in my pocket, these things are going to break if I catch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like these things could break really easily if you're not too careful. But they're really well made. You know, I don't feel weird doing that. I don't feel like it's going to break.
I think the thing that it mentions, the system is definitely for an older audience. You could give this to a child of 10, let's say, but...
anything younger than that, you don't want to give this to. This is a multimedia machine. It's not a kid's toy.
It's for the hardcore, and it's for someone who can appreciate what the hardware can do.
And the price definitely shows that. These things start out at about $249, and they move up to $399 based on the. I'm sorry, $349 based on the package you get. The particular unit we're looking at here is the 3G Wi-Fi model. This ran you
$299. This is the official quote-unquote launch kit.
Right, and this comes with an 8 gig. It comes with a AT&T card, which brings us to another point we have an issue with. The system itself is great. It has Wi-Fi. It has 3G. The 3G is on AT&T. That we have a problem with that.
That is a major system flaw, or flaw by Sony, to only dedicate the system to AT&T. Their reasons are beyond me. Well, if you have AT&T and you like AT&T, that's one thing, but unfortunately there are no unlimited data plans for AT&T, besides network coverage issues that are well known to any Apple iPhone fans, or even the iPad. AT&T has limited data plans, and
you also can't download anything over 20 megabytes from the PlayStation Store.
That is true.
On the
or anywhere practically.
On the 3G. So hopefully that'll be one of those things that you'll see in the future. Hopefully they'll have it on Sprint, which would be great.
But
or any other company.
It's at least in the right direction that it is a mobile device that can connect to cellular network, and download updates and data, and play online games and that sort of thing. It's a nice addition that competitors need to follow, such as Nintendo. Nintendo 3DS, for example, does not have that functionality. But this is not a contrast comparison because they are two different sets of hardware with different focus in each way. The PSV. I won't say PSP.
PSV.
PSV, PlayStation Vita,
weird.
is a multimedia powerhouse just like its console brethren, the PS3, although this one is for mobile use in your pocket. So I think we're going to boot it up now, should the boot up sequence.
And we're probably going to show off the second most impressive thing on this, which is the gorgeous 5.5-inch OLED screen.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a little bit to boot up, but it's not too bad, you know.
There's no violins. I was a little disappointed by that.
It boots up quick once you actually have the button pushed. I kind of like that they did that, though, because, you know, having this in your pocket, you don't want it turning on and off, especially with how much battery this thing can take. You see that we have a beautiful, oh my god.
So, I think the first thing you'll notice is this is not using the cross-media bar.
And I'm going to go ahead and lower the volume a little bit here, just so it doesn't counteract with us. So, the first thing, of course, like Bobby said, we're going to talk about is the UI. This does not use a standard XMB cross-media bar that the PS3 and PSP use. This uses a new... it's actually... I don't want to say it's iPod or iOS-esque. It's more WebOS-esque in all reality.
Definitely.
You have, let me just give you an example here. Let me go ahead and launch up the trophies. You're able to launch up an application such as this, and at any given point, and I'm going to go ahead and just cancel here, you can bring down the application, and it's now running as a background process, and you can go back to the main menu. You can have multiple applications running, which brings it up here in a card style, which is the WebOS feature.
This is basically the PlayStation button, which if you have a DualShock 3, this is the equivalent right here.
Right, and you'll see I can bring it up here. I can have multiple applications running, or I can just go ahead, done.
And that's how you close it. And that's definitely very WebOS.
It's WebOS, but it's pretty WebOS, and it's functional WebOS. Like, so overall, you have your main screen, which shows you your applications. You have your notifications bar here, which shows you all your recent activity. It shows you your downloads, any trophies or any friend sign-ins that you might have had,
which can be extended by hitting the more button, which brings up I'm doing this bad,
and it brings up more information on all your recent activities and your trophies and such. We can go ahead and close that off again, and again it goes back. The UI itself is pretty. It's 3D. As you can see here, it is scalable as far as how fast, it's motion sensitive.
No lag whatsoever.
That's the beautiful thing. The UI works. It's quick, it's zippy. We have been using this all weekend long. We have not seen any sort of lag or slowdown. The menus just work. You know, they're super quick. It gives you all the functionality that the XMB had in a much easier, more presentable status. Now, one thing that we've been reading over the weekend, and keep in mind, we're doing this a little different than most people would do the review, just because we're sharing our experiences. We've seen a lot of people complain about the fact that you're unable to change the icons. That's completely false. I'm just going to go ahead and prove this here. You hold down, and there you go. You can move these around. You can move that there. You can move that there.
And also, there's
go ahead and scroll down.
It might be a little hard to show, but these little buttons on the icons themselves give you extra options. So if I wanted to delete that, which I don't, or want more information, for example,
gives you additional information there. You go ahead and close out. To do that, close that. You want to go? I don't see what the button is.
Return.
There we go. Okay, we're done. Yeah, that works. You know, it's very iOS, WebOS like. It's almost a mixture of that. So you use that to launch it, and of course, this being basically a mobile PS3, you have your trophies, which are all synced up to your PSN account. You have your PSN store, which is also hooked up to that. You have your friends list. You have a web browser, which runs HTML5. No real Flash support yet, but that's one of those things that luckily they can add in software. And I'm going to make a note here. A lot of the things that we do have, which are small complaints, luckily do seem like they can all be fixed in software. So hopefully there'll be things that are coming along down the line. You can see here, quick. This is running on the Wi-Fi here at Bobby's house at the B&Game Studio. And the web browser just works. This is based on HTML5, so it loads up pretty quick. It has, you want to pull up the, I can't see where the the keyboard is. Here somewhere.
Well, we can get that after, depending. The one thing that I need to mention that is unfortunate.
Oh, there we go. We have a.
There is no flash support.
No flash support, but like we said, these are all things that seem to be, at least to us, things that can be added in firmware updates. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that out. So we have the web browser. You have your messaging. You actually have some built-in games in the form of the Welcome Park, which basically walks you through the utilization and learning how to use the system. Interesting little thing. They actually have trophies, and yes. Bobby learned this firsthand.
Oh,
he was having a lot of fun.
If you are a trophy horse such as myself, you will be glad to know that all PSV games have their own trophies. I love that. And then I know it's hard to show, but I'm going to pick it up real quick. On the back, which is a touch sensitive, you can see the globe moving. And see that, right? Center. Oh, and if you touch the little guy, he's going. There's a little secret I found. That actually right there will show you the intro movie that starts up with the boot up sequence. In fact, we'll let that play while we talk a little bit about more about this screen and its media playback functionality. This right here is actually the intro video. When you actually get past the setup, it shows it off. And unfortunately, since we're recording this on a camera in front of it, you don't see it it's not as sharp in this manner.
Trust me, in person, the screen is breathtaking. The blacks are pitch black, the whites are white. The color is great. There's no the pixels are so small that they're not clearly visible, which was an issue with the old PSPs. It's great. Actually, on one little note, I did remember kind of a little hint there. When you start up your system, it originally asks you whether you want to sign in with a PSN account or if you want to create a new one. If you try and sign in with a PSN account, it asks you to update to the latest firmware, which would be okay if it lets you continue, but you have to go back and tell it to make a new account. It doesn't actually go through and make it, but you have to download the software update. I thought that was a little bit of a pain in the ass. Personally, I thought they could have engineered that a little bit better, but you know, that's the way these things work.
As of this recording, we're actually on firmware
1.61.
Yeah, 1.61.
Unless there was anything new today, but I don't think we checked.
No.
But I think 1.61 is the latest.
And that added some stability fixes and Google Maps.
It added Google Maps, and it added the ability for you to record video.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Before we go on, I know we're forgetting something a little bit here, so let's just go ahead and knock this out. Let's go through the actual functions and the buttons. The D-pad on this is not like the PS3 or the PSP. No. I'm going to knock that out of the way.
It's very clicky.
It's very clicky. It's hard to explain. The buttons themselves are very clicky, unlike the PSP ones, which were very spongy, and unlike the PS3 ones, which are a little bit more like this, but not as much. It's a bit hard to explain. How would you... A GBA, a Game Boy Advance SP.
Yeah.
That would be the best way to describe this. These buttons are very much like that, but they're a little springier, which works a lot better. And by the way, we have a...
Just gonna put that next to it so you get an
idea.
You know, yeah, this is actually very... That's exactly what it's like.
That's exactly what it's like. This is a little more curved, though. It has an in curve and an in curve, so it works a lot better. The buttons are great. They feel nice and tactile. They're really responsive. Of course, you have the knobs, which have a good motion of degree. Like I said, there's not too much of a dead spot on them, so they work really well. You have a select and a start button here, which are really flush and really nice. They're slightly elevated. You know, they work great. You have the PlayStation button, which is blue to indicate it's on, will flash to indicate whether you have a message or any sort of notification, and will turn orange when you're charging the device. That brings me to another point. This charger you have to be very careful with. You can actually put this in upside down, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can show this off here real quick, just showing you the connector. You're able to put this upside down. There's no notch stopping it from putting it in the proper way. So just be really careful with that.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of people complain about that.
There's a PlayStation logo which indicates that it should be facing toward you, so you know that it's charging. Because if you do it the other way, it will not charge. That's a bit of a design flaw. Very minor thing.
But you would still not want to do that just based on the fact that connecting power cables in backwards is not necessarily a good thing.
It was bad for your Vita.
Yes, it was. You have two speakers here, which I don't know if you can see very clearly.
No, not really.
There's two little speakers here. One of the problems with the PSP was that the speakers on the 1000 model would point down in that direction. They did fix that with the 2 and 3000 model, having them here and here, but they were still kind of tinny. They didn't sound right. These are great. They are really loud. They work really well. They're very clear. There's no audible distortion that you can hear. The volume on it works really well. And, you know, these just work a lot better. Moving on, of course, you have the screen, which is a 5.5-inch OLED screen. Touch, capacitive, you know, standard iPad-esque. You have a camera here in the front. And this is actually really cool because this is the same megapixel count as the one in the back, which I'm going to throw this number out there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's 5. Does that sound about right?
It's
3 to 5.
It's approximate. One thing we should really note: the camera is actually rather poor. It is not a camera you want to use as, I mean, you're not going to be on nature hunts.
But it works.
Lions.
It's not the highest quality thing, but it works for what it was designed for.
Its primary design is mostly for in-game use. So, for example, this machine will use AR cards. In fact, the applications that use those AR cards, the first ones anyway, were just released today on the PlayStation update. And that allows for you know, interaction with the cards, so it recognizes shapes and those sorts of things. There's other games that will require you to use the camera in other ways. Uncharted, I think, is the most notable example, where in a certain instance you have a piece of paper and you're trying to find a clue, and it tells you to put the camera, the primary camera,
light source,
that one right there,
which is this one,
to a light source, and then it shows a clip. It's more for gameplay.
It's more for the experience than the function of having it. Although that doesn't mean you can't use it. You can still use it to take pictures. Not the greatest thing in the world. It's equivalent to a cell phone camera.
Well,
it is. In all honesty,
yes.
it is. It's not all that bad.
Let's also mention, I think the thing that in Sony's defense is, if you were to add a much higher quality camera, the price of this thing would have went up.
And they couldn't afford to do two if that was the case. Okay, going on to the back, you have the back touch capacitive sensor. Now, one thing to note is, every single video and every single press conference I saw says that this is as big as the front screen. That is not true. This area here is not touch capacitive to my knowledge. It is actually just a sticker, which is the same feel as this, but, you know, so in all reality it's actually about that big rather than the whole thing. It's not so much a nitpick. I just wanted to bring that up because I see it in all the reviews. So the back is touch capacitive. It is as high quality as the front is. It works really well. Some of the games, for example, Uncharted, have you climbing some of the ropes by pulling away at this. And if you look really carefully, I don't know if I can get this in frame. Is that?
It a little to the left.
Okay. My left, your left. Go ahead and take over. There we go. You can see that you have a triangle, square, circle, X kind of a pattern. The typical PlayStation button pattern just going across. I think that is really nice.
These right here are rubber grips. If
not rubber. It's matte.
Matte. Okay, it's for gripping purposes, and you can see my reflection.
Yeah,
it's very shiny. I'm sitting in front, back of the camera. He's in front. This is if you want to curl your hands around it to play the system.
You would typically hold it something like.
I'll be honest.
Oh, this is a little awkward, but you would hold it something like this.
I'll be honest with you. People with smaller hands are probably going to be able to do that. Anyone with larger hands...
you're going to be doing this a lot.
Yeah,
and it's a little annoying for some of the games, but you get used to it. Going to the top here, and I'm going to hold this so that you can actually read what the hell it says. And you'll want to reorient me. Just give me 1 second.
It's in focus.
Okay, that's good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, you have the power button starting here, which, you know, you can hold down. And if you push it once, it actually puts it into a sleep mode, which is really nice. That's one of the things that I love about this. At any point, any game, any application, you can push that and it'll suspend it and put it in a low power mode, and you can just continue. It's almost akin to the PSP function where you could push it up once and it would save the state, and holding it up would allow you to turn it off. So you hold this down and it'll give you the option to turn it off or cancel. Then you have the game slot here, I believe. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you open this up and you want to go ahead and help me out here. Yeah, I'm going to have Bobby open that up because I can't see. And you'll have to apologize and bear with us a little bit. We're trying to do this a little bit different than what you might see normally.
I'm used to getting it on the other side. There's a little slot there so you can put your finger.
See, there you go. And this is where the PSV, that's weird, games go. We're going to go ahead and show you
Ultimate Marvel
versus Capcom 3. He's going to go ahead and pop that out.
And then you notice it's a memory. This is a proprietary format, by the way, or shape.
The closest thing I can approximate it to is an SD card.
And the reason for this being is pretty much piracy. I'm not saying that it'll never be pirated, but
it's harder.
This is much harder. As you can see here, you have it looks. You could easily mistake this for
an SD card.
Well, not only that, 3DS game.
Yep.
It's very similar.
Very similar, although the 3DS
high capacity though.
I forget if it goes towards you.
Yes, it does. A little closer here.
Is that?
I got it. I'll hold it.
Okay. And you just go ahead and pop that in. And there you go. Now, if you have fat fingers, you're fucked. That's about as simple as it gets.
We should also mention that there's two right triggers here, which conform to your hand.
That's
here.
one thing that's really
very important.
It works.
You hold it like this, and this is the primary.
Oh, we're forgetting two things real quick. We just want to finish up, by the way.
I should also mention that these buttons here, they're not quite as large as the PSP, and definitely not as large as the DualShock 3. This is not really a problem. There's a balance here, and they're high enough here where
they're well spaced, they're well balanced.
And for a game like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, this is extremely important. I'm actually going to take this off the charger now, so we have a little
more playroom. We have two last little things to go over. Of course, you have, and you want to reorient.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
You have the down volume, the up volume, which work really well. The volume, like I said, on this is really great, and a little, kind of an interesting little port here, which I'm sure is going to work for additional accessories. I don't know what kind of port that is, but I'm sure that's going to be supported for some additional, maybe GPS or some link cable of some sort, or maybe even an additional battery pack, because we have heard reports of Sony wanting to release an additional battery pack for this in Japan sometime in March. I don't know when exactly it'll come here, but we'll be seeing a little more information on that in the coming weeks. So who knows what that mystery port is for. And on the bottom, just finishing it up real quick, you have your memory card slot, which I'll pop out here in a second. You have your main charger and your headphone jack. On this side, you have your SIM card slot. I don't know if that works real well.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, and Bobby, of course, took it out and broke it immediately as soon as he could.
Sprint, please create a SIM card.
Let me just pop this out here real quick. I'm going to show how small this memory card is, because this thing is ridiculously small.
Just give it to me and I'll put it in frame. Let's give it a second. That is an 8 GB card that comes with the 3G.
That's a micro memory stick. That thing is small.
Just back away. You can see how small it is.
Yeah, that is small.
So we'll put that on the side for now.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pop that back in the system here real quick. I probably should have made a note of what way it went, but just give me 1 sec. So overall,
let's as far as the hardware, let's just talk about the hardware. From a technical perspective, it's a technical marvel. It's a genius of it's picking up Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. How can I put this?
It works.
It works. They're smart design choices here. Sony really did their homework. They took a look at the current existing market. They learned from their mistakes, mostly these two, and they've really done well. I mean, there are some shortcomings. The carrier, at least for the U.S., is AT&T. Other territories will have their respective networks, which are probably better. GSM and everything else. As far, I mean, for me, that's the biggest flaw in the plan, and based on it has a SIM card, you know, there's always that additional room for it to expand to other carriers. But you know, there's also the Wi-Fi model. If you don't plan on using the data and you don't want to pay a monthly fee, or you don't want to pay for AT&T's data session cards, taking a picture of the black. Excuse me. It does everything you need on Wi-Fi. There are also a lot of your standard apps, you would expect on your... hit the trigger. A lot of the standard apps you would expect on your cell phone camera. Well, I mean, they're going to be on here. Currently, we have Netflix, Flickr.
Actually, Netflix just came out today, which is great.
Live Tweet, which connects to Twitter if you do tweeting. This uses Google Maps, official Google Maps, not a fake weird client. It's actually official Google Maps. There's other ones in the works, like Skype, which was on the original PSP, which... Built-in microphone. We actually should make mention of the Party application. Marco and I tested this. If you connect to other PS Vita people on your friends list, get connected, this will do audio chat over the PlayStation Network. And it works extremely well, very high quality. You can get a party of all your friends in there and just talk if you really wanted to. And then this can be extended into the UI as you go along. This, I'm hoping, has greater integration with games, you know, for cross-platform chat. That's really what it comes down to. That's what it is, seeing as the PlayStation 3, unfortunately, at this time does not have that. I think the major, let's call it a flaw, is Sony's pricing plan for memory in general. So, for example, the 8 gig card that comes with this particular unit, being, you know, the launch model, on its own is $39.99. 8 gigs it's comparable, but you have to consider that the largest game currently is 3.3 gigs, which is Uncharted. And most of the games runs around a gig and a half. So you're easily going to eat up that 8 gigabytes, not including all the applications, save data, DLC, demos, everything else that you're going to be wanting to download. You're going to be constantly shuffling with that 8 gigabyte card. Even the 4 gigabyte card is like $20. It's actually, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous for the size and the size of the games and everything else that's included here. In fact, some of the games already have updates. You know, they're not large.
Uncharted. Had a 120 megabyte update day one.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff is going to eat the memory card. And currently the biggest is the 32 megabyte, and that costs
32 gigabyte. 32 megabytes is $100.
Yeah.
32 gigabytes is $100.
$100 for 32 gigabytes. Now, the argument here from a marketing perspective is that that if you were to take the iPod Touch, for example, a 32 gigabyte model is comparable price range to this. In fact, yeah, I would say this is a little more expensive in the end, but it's definitely comparable. Right now, Marco's just showing off Super Stardust Delta, which we did a quick look for. Please go and check that out on the site.
Playing upside down.
Yeah, he's trying to play upside down, and
this is gonna end well.
It's not gonna end well. It is beautiful. In fact, this version, Super Stardust, was actually on the PS3 first. I actually prefer the Vita version. There's some smart additions to it. And expect a review for this game shortly, as well as pretty much most of the launch games. We're in the process of playing them, acquiring them, and you know, going through them. Oh, the missiles. Look at all the particles, just spluttering. oh yeah, the black hole. I'm surprised you haven't died yet. That's crazy. I don't know how you did that.
That's because I'm that good.
Oh.
I can play this upside down.
So, as we've discussed, the two major flaws here are the data carrier if you're interested in the mobile version, mobile network version, and the memory card. But other than that, there are really no other downsides. Some people would argue that the battery life, which is approximately 3 to 3.5 hours of constant use, is a problem. But you have to consider everything that this thing is doing.
You end up having the screen, which is a 5.5-inch LED, OLED screen being powered. You have the Wi-Fi being powered. You have the memory stick being read and written to. You also have the system overall, which has a multi-core processor, reading and writing, RAM. You have all of this running while it's reading a game and rendering 3D graphics that are honestly on par with some of the PS3 games we've seen. And honestly, 3.3 hours is not all that bad. If at that point you're really running into the problem where you don't have the ability to charge the system in 3 to 3.3 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours, there's a problem altogether.
Now, this leads into my next thing. So, besides Vita games, Vita updates, Vita applications, the PlayStation Vita also supports PSP emulation for PSP games that you've purchased on the PlayStation Network. Now, this comes with a caveat. Currently, officially, there are only 257 PSP games supported. There actually is a workaround for this. There are games that are not listed that you can't download directly off the PlayStation Store on the hardware. You can actually download them on your PlayStation 3 and with the charge cable, which is a USB end. Besides this, transfer them over with the Content Manager system. I actually have 2 games on here which are not on the list: Guilty Gear Judgment and Gran Turismo PSP. Those games are not on the list, and I could not download them from the Vita store yet. Reasons behind this are a mystery to pretty much everyone but Sony at the moment, but I was able to download them on the PS3 and copy them over, and they work flawlessly. So I would venture to guess that most PSP games, if not all of them currently, are supported if you download them via the PS3 or the PC Content Manager system. That is another way to download your games and install them, which I have not been able to test yet. Although if you own a PS3, that's pretty much the ideal way to do it, because the format is similar and it connects easily, and you don't have to worry about Windows drivers. And eventually there will be a Mac OS X client, which has not been released yet, and you'll have to deal with that in the same way that you deal with PC compatibility, with a foreign device.
Also, playing Luminous upside down is kind of hard.
Yeah, I can see that. So, memory constraints, data carrier issues, at least in the States, battery for some, which for me and Marco is a non-issue.
It's trivial
at best. Are its biggest flaws, and like I said, the carrier that might get fixed later, considering you can remove the SIM card. Maybe another carrier, say Verizon, or for me, hopefully Sprint, will have something that will work, and you can use existing data plans. Maybe even add it to your existing phone plan. Who knows? The possibilities are there. And our little nitpicks about how the system works to a certain extent, like for example, when you plug it into, say, a USB power slot and not the actual AC adapter, it does not give you an indication that it's charging through the USB.
Absolutely no indication it's charging.
Yeah.
It seeps the power and it grabs it, but it does it much slower process, which I can understand why they wouldn't animate that it's properly charging. But I hope that that's one of those things that maybe they can do a slightly different, a different logo or different animation to tell you, this is charging through USB. It's going to charge slower, but it's charging. Don't worry about it.
Right here, I'm actually booting up Gran Turismo PSP on the PlayStation Vita. And there is no passport program that was actually attempted in Japan. That is not actually happening here in the States. Thankfully, though, if you own PSP games on the PlayStation Network already, you can download them. Just keep in mind that PSP games are still fairly sizable. This one, for example, is a gig. Gran Turismo, and that's not including the DLC, because that had DLC. So there are some caveats there you have to consider for space. This comes back to the memory cost, and that being an issue, at least at launch. Some people have been very critical of Sony of this, but to be fair to a certain extent, flash memory is a lot more expensive to manufacture, and it's not as commonplace as a disk hard drive system, say as a early generation iPod, or even some cell phones, those sorts of things. This is the PSP game. This is the intro video, so obviously it looks pretty good being pre-rendered. But I've actually noticed that the performance is also faster. It doesn't exactly enhance all the load times and that sort of thing, but it definitely does the job.
No, Bad. That doesn't work.
Oh, I know. See, that is okay. So gotta keep in consideration in PSP games. Just because you have a second analog nub does not mean it's going to work. So technically, this works. This works. These work. The face buttons work, but no touch, no second analog.
Oh, why isn't it working? God, it's broken. I'm gonna break this.
But I mean, it works beautifully. I'll get this set up. Marco, do you have any other things that you think we should mention here?
It's a Sony product, so the instant you touch it, there's like 50,000. There's like 50,000 fingerprints all over it, so it's gonna get dirty. So if you're OCD like me, there's that. Should also mention that some of the accessories are a little pricey. That's true.
At the moment. We don't have any third-party knockoffs yet. For example, this PS Vita case, which
this stylish PS Vita case,
which can also
double as a kickstand.
Double as a kickstand.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so you can
stand it.
Netflix, for example, this was $20.
$20.
Which, now you think about it, cell phone accessories can tend to be that expensive as well. Yeah. But, once you've spent, let's say...
The PSP came with one. That's all I gotta say there. The original PSP came with one.
Yeah. But, I mean, if we were to speak about it, I mean, you think about phones have the same issue.
Yeah.
But after you've spent, let's say, $350 at this point...
$20 seems almost trivial if it means protecting it.
Yes, especially as pretty as this thing is and kind of how rare it is. And I'm gonna... This is kind of weird driving like this, but you can see this is a PSP game, unsupported as far as the PlayStation Vita store currently is, running on it without any issue, no hacks. And look at that! Look at how fast it was. Done.
Hacks.
Netflix, as we said. The PlayStation Store is fully functional. It works. There's not a lot of content, so we're not having a lot of issues with finding things, but it's very similar in aesthetic to the PlayStation 3 version. You can still access all your download management from either system based on things you purchased. Download list. It's running a little slow right now because I'm actually downloading the SSX demo. Let's date this. You can see things I've downloaded in the listing, and I can hit download. Things that are not supported, for example, I forgot I gotta do this. It just says cannot download. I know you can't see it on here, but that's an example. But hey, it's functional. It does the job.
Final little nitpick for me really would be, and I know this is kind of trivial as well. I would kind of like them to have a percentage bar. A percentage of how much battery's left. And I know that those things are never really super accurate, but I would kind of just like it. I know it would help. I know the cell phones don't even have that anymore, really. It's just when you're constantly looking.
It does have a cool lightning.
Yeah, that is cool. There's also no quick way to turn up or turn down the brightness. That kind of sucks too.
Yeah.
Especially when you need it on this if you want to conserve battery. But at the same time, it comes down to if you're not close to a battery source, just push that little button, find a battery source, charge in. It has USB. It can charge through the proper charger or through a USB port. So you have options. You have room to play with. And I think that leads us into our final wrap-up.
Pretty much. So, do we think Sony did a good job?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If we were to give this a 5... Well,
it gets an editor's choice out of 5.
I mean, it is a solid system. It is solid tech. Pretty much everything about it is flawless. Most of the nitpicking stuff will eventually be fixed in software. I mean, Sony releases firmware updates like candy.
There was a firmware update day 1.
Yeah, exactly. And in the Japanese release, there's been a couple of firmware updates since the Japanese PlayStation Vita's release. There's actually things that we haven't encountered that were actually already resolved that I've read about that we didn't encounter here. So Sony's on it. I think Marco did make a point about the marketing. As Sony fans and fans of this platform and everything it's representing now, we do not believe Sony is doing enough to push the system out in the public eye.
Unfortunately not.
That's Sony's choice, and they have a marketing team and they're professionals that know about these things. But in our opinion, we haven't seen enough. Yeah, it's up to date. That is more of us wanting to see the system succeed. It is everything the PSP should have been, and it has the potential to be everything that the PSP never was going to be. There's many things that we haven't mentioned that we haven't really touched on, such as cross-platform play, which is big for PS3 and PSV. There's games such as the upcoming MotorStorm RC, which you buy one game on one platform and you get the other one for free. One that you can download right now, which was updated on the store, is Hustle Kings, which is a Sony specific pool game. Hey, but I bought it once on the PS3, now I have it on the PSV, and it was it works. I didn't have to pay an extra for it, and Sony's going to be doing a lot of that with their first party stuff. Hopefully third parties will follow suit. Some have, Capcom for example, with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, DLC that you purchase for the PS3, such as costume packs and that sort of thing, cross over to the Vita for free. And Street Fighter Cross Tekken, there will be that, which hasn't been released yet, which will be released in the fall, will have similar functionality as well as special DLC characters, or special characters period, that will not be on any other platform.
Now really quick on the actual games, the system has, like Bobby says, about 20 launch titles. The launch titles are actually really, really good. Not only does it have great launch titles like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it has unique games that are out. Not only that, it's actually launching with what I consider, and I think Bobby can agree here, to be a AAA launch title, which is Uncharted.
Definitely.
Uncharted is unique. It's unique to the PSV. It's not coming to the PSP. It's not coming to the PS3. It's not coming to any other system. It's a great story, a full-fledged game. I've actually been playing it since I got it on about Thursday night. It's Tuesday night right now. I'm not even halfway through the thing. And I've been playing that non-stop. It's a full-fledged game. It is pricey. It's $49. It's $50. It's almost the price of a full retail PS3 game. Is it worth it? In my eyes, absolutely every penny. No actual multiplayer, but who cares? Just because a game doesn't have multiplayer, look at Skyrim. Yeah. Skyrim does not have multiplayer. That does not make it a game that I was not happy to pay full price for. And I'm definitely happy to do that. It's a great launch game. It looks incredible. It shows what the system can do. It's not buggy. I haven't run into any real issues, which is usually what you expect to run into when you have a launch title.
Generally speaking, I think we can just say that the launch lineup for the games generally is strong. There are a few duds here and there, and the prices for some of the games are a little steeper than we'd like to see. Little Deviants, I think, is a prime example of that. That is more of a tech demo, and that costs about
in all reality, Little Deviants is the tech demo of the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah, but aside from that, it's everything's solid. There's something for everybody. A fighting game here. There are plenty of racing games. Rayman Origins, which is an excellent unappreciated title, is almost on par with the console version on the handheld. All the levels, which is a platformer. So there's something for everybody at launch. I mean, right away. And on top of that, being able to play your PSP games emulated perfectly. I think the only thing
Crisis Core.
No Crisis Core, not yet.
No Birth by Sleep.
That's because of third party. And
no
actually,
Birth by Sleep.
Well,
is it?
Right. No, it's not.
Damn it.
Third birthday is
I
on
don't want that shit.
Yeah.
I'm not Timmy.
I think another thing to mention is there's third-party support. We're actually seeing third-party support supporting the platform at launch. There are games in development aside from first-party, which, for example, like the 3DS, and like I said, we're not going to be sitting here comparing apples to apples here, or apples to oranges because it's a different system. But that console is selling well because of its first-party applications, mostly.
I don't know what the hell it says, but I'm agreeing.
It's basically wanting to sign in the PlayStation Network.
Oh, okay.
That's just a comic book.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I'm just gonna leave it there. I can't fight upside down. I'm not that.
Yeah. It's just everything about it overall is quality. You're getting your money's worth. It's a great entertainment system.
Bluetooth.
The fact that you have Netflix on the thing. I mean, I know you can get Netflix on your phone, but this is better looking than any phone. Any phone on the market. iPhone 4S has a nice screen, but it is also tiny in comparison to this giant. Obviously, you can play it on your PS3, which would be the ideal situation. But
it's 4 Marco fingers long.
And Marco's got a fairly large hand, and that's about all. So generally speaking, after this very long-winded review of everything that we wanted to talk about, everything that we could remember to speak about,
everything that we personally, encountered, and this is as honest a review as I think you can get out there. It's not biased. I mean, we love the system and we do love Sony, but if it was a super biased review, we wouldn't have said anything bad towards it. It definitely has things that it needs to get fixed, but I have a good feeling they can be fixed in software, and hopefully they will be. And, I'll hold my word on that.
And I think the one thing I think is its strongest bit, if you were to ask me, is unlike previous consoles that come out yearly, or even other devices that come out on a yearly basis that require thinning, or they change it because something hardware-wise was bad. There's almost nothing about this system that needs to be upgraded or fixed from a hardware perspective.
From what we can see, that doesn't mean that they won't. It's Sony. Yeah. Of course, there's going to be a slim model.
E3 2013, we don't need to see a PS Vita Slim, for example. This thing is perfect as it is, and most of the issues that we found are software. Which
although
will be fixed.
A bigger battery wouldn't be bad.
Yes. Although that would
16-hour battery, I would be okay with this.
If they design something that's like super lithium ion that won't combust, that
just a Ghostbusters proton.
Yeah,
tank.
if we could make it nuclear, I would buy it. But other than that, I mean, hey, what else can we say? The highest praise we can give this thing is it's worth your money, it's worth your time. It is a solid device. It's got a great lineup of games coming up. We haven't hit E3 yet. E3 is going to show off what it really can do. Wait till the next Valve game comes out for it. Wait for the inevitable upcoming BioShock specific. This game could run Skyrim if they turned it down slightly, but portable Skyrim. Think about that. Portable Skyrim.
Portable Grand Theft Auto 5.
The possibilities right now are endless. And it is what it is. Its limitations are,
Kill hookers here, kill them when you're back home. That's the tagline. Rockstar, I'll take my royalties now.
It is everything that we could have hoped for it. The memory issue will be fixed in time. These little software nitpicking things will eventually be fixed over time with firmware updates, which are easy to do.
Because we're coders, and we know.
Network carriers eventually, maybe that is and that's not a big thing, because if you have Wi-Fi, you don't need the network connectivity. Wi-Fi's faster, generally speaking, depending on your network.
Unless you have some crazy form of 3G and really crappy Wi-Fi.
You're running IDSL.
You're on satellite.
Yes, I said.
You're on satellite internet for some reason.
Those issues are personal. We can't help you as a human being. But other than that,
we pity you.
Yes.
As a human being.
Other than that, it is worth your time. Please pick one of these things up. Tell your friends about it. If you do any kind of travel, this is a great thing to bring with you. Even if not, it is a satisfying experience while you're playing your PSP and, say, someone else is using television that your PS3 is on. It
remote play.
Remote play does remote play very well. We can go on and on about the things
we haven't even touched. Well, we touched about 80% of what this thing can do. I'm sure there's things we haven't touched about, but mainly those are the important features. You have a lot of social aspects. It can hook up to Facebook and sync back a lot of your trophies and information. It does have a whole function called Near, where you can meet people and transfer gifts, which is actually how Bobby was able to unlock some extra skins in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yes.
As well as I was able to unlock some guns in Uncharted Golden Abyss. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's got the applications. It's got the hardware behind it. That's the important thing. If you have the hardware, you can develop for it, and you can make applications that are going to be incredible and games that are going to be incredible. And I think this is the software, and this is the hardware that we needed. This is the hardware we've been asking for. And just in a closing statement for me, closing statement.
Jerry's final thought.
This is Marco's final thought. Hardcore gamers like to bitch a lot, and I'm saying it. We like to say, you know, oh, Nintendo doesn't understand. I need a hardcore system. Nintendo knows what they're doing. Sony has finally given us a system that I think is worthy of being called a hardcore core gamer portable. It has the ability to do everything we want as far as social aspects go, application aspects go, and gaming goes. If we don't buy this, it doesn't get developed. That's about as simple as it gets. And honestly, we bitch and bitch and bitch, and when it finally comes out, we don't buy it. That's ridiculous. We need to buy these things. We need to support the developers. We need to support the hardware developers to let them know that if we ask for something and they give it to us, we're gonna go ahead and buy it, because that's ultimately what it comes down to.
And if you're watching this, you obviously live in a first world country. Buy the damn thing.
Buy the damn thing. Just for Christmas. We understand the economy's hard. But Bobby and me are rich. We have like we have like 10 of these things. We throw them at Timmy for entertainment.
I think I appreciate if you're still watching. This has been a really long review, and we wanted to do this in a more of a podcast format. If you watch any of our videos, we do a lot of stuff in a podcast format between me, Marco, and Tim, who's not here yet. And he's not here for this particular review. We like to discuss it in this way because you go to your corporate reviewers and they're very, very quick to give you the little ups and ends, and you miss a lot of the detail. You miss the passion generally of what these things mean to someone who really plays them. We're not a corporate entity, so we don't sit here and play the thing for a short amount of time and then say, okay, well, here it is, put it aside, give me the next game. You know, we do everything in our power to be as honest as possible, and I do appreciate you watching this review. This is Bobby from bn-games.com.
And this is Marco from bn-games.com.
This is the PlayStation Vita review. Please buy it. It will be out as of this recording within a few hours. It is
15 minutes.
15 minutes, actually.
15 minutes.
It is worth your time. It is worth your money. And if you're a Sony fan or you just want a mobile thing, new tech, Uncharted. There's so many things. It is worth your time. Just pick it up and let us know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe. We have plenty more content, previews, and everything else for this system and the PlayStation 3 and everything else, as well as the upcoming E3. Just let us know what you think. Thank you for watching.